The answer to this question is the box that fits the game well without a lot of dead space and being very considerate of the consumer's storage solutions. Hello and welcome to Assorted Meeples. I'm Phillip, the Meeple on duty, and today we're going to be talking about a subject that is completely useless and completely opinionated. So if you're one of those people that like to leave comments based on angry, irate things, there's a comment section below. I want a good laugh. Now, moving on, since we're talking about today's subject is box sizes and what is a good box size or what is the best box size that I have encountered. Now, again, this is opinion. If your idea is different, that's fine. I own everything from exploding kittens all the way up to Primal. Yeah, I think Primal's the biggest box I have. Right there besides the Everdell Complete Collection. Right beside Castles of Burgundy Deluxe Edition. These are all really great games. Like, from small box to big box. But what box size have I found has always delivered surprisingly good games out of them, does not take up a lot of my shelf space, and is very uniform. So let's get right into it. First category we're going to talk about today is the classic. This is the one you always think of, like Life, Monopoly, Sorry, all those board games growing up. I currently just have Risk. I have Life back there as well, but this was the one on top, so this is the one I grabbed. Risk is a absolutely fabulous game. If you've never played it, it is worth a play even today for sure, without any hesitation on my half saying that's the good idea. This is just a classic box. Now, the problem with these classic boxes is it is either completely full. Like, I would say this is a pretty good game about having not a lot of dead space in it. Or it's this size to house the board game, or the actual board of the game, and then you have all the dead space besides that. So you're using up, like, this much of the box, and you have all this filler dead space that they have to put a cardboard insert in, and you have a few other pieces in there as well. This one actually takes up most of the space, so this is a good example of packaging done well. But again, like Monopoly, you have the plastic or the money and the few pieces you use, and then you have like over half the box dead. The Super Fantasy Brawls, I'm going to include in there where they're the same like long rectangular box and deeper. So like Everdell, Complete Collection, Primal, they are using their space as well as they can, but there's still a lot of dead space. Like the Super Fantasy Brawl is a terrible example. Actually, that is a terrible example of a good idea poorly executed. But that's a distraction, and I'm not going there today. I'm staying on point and focus. So the next one I'll bring up here is this. These are all tiny boxes. They are really great games. They pack a ton of great game into a very small space. But they do not stack well except for with each other, and then you got to find a hole to slide them in between your big boxes. So while I appreciate these tremendously, like especially, I'm going to have to give credit to Microcosmos because everything fits in this box just barely. And it's not the just barely bad where there's a little bit of lid lift. No, it just barely fits everything in here, including the dual layered cargo boards that I picked up as well as an extra. So now some of these, like Pot de Vin, actually none of the games are in here. I have photo albums that allow me to store tons and tons of games in a really small compact space while not taking up my shelf space, and that makes me happy. But those deliver amazing experiences as well. But they become hard to kind of stack and flip around because they're not uniform. None of those boxes are the same size. And when you're building a game library like I have, my collection, and I'm using horizontal because you people who stack your games vertically are monsters. That it's not how they were intended to be set on a shelf. I don't care if they've done side art that looks like it's vertical. Unless there's something in there holding everything in place, it wasn't designed to sit like that. It was designed to sit like that. So you pick it up and your pieces are all everywhere. And no, monsters. Next size, we're going to call the large square. Now, with all of these, it isn't just, when I say large square, it's not just this thickness. Like, I don't care. It could be 10 inches high. But it's this larger square that we're talking like a foot, right at that foot, 12 inches on a side. And these large boxes. Now, the reason these are not the most ideal is because they typically have a lot of dead space hiding out in there. They typically have really good inserts that holds everything in place, but they don't have, or those inserts create a bunch of dead space that, if designed better, could have been a smaller box. Now you're saying, what's wrong with a bigger box? It gives shelf space, or seller's presence, or shelf presence, or whatever they want to call it. Basically, the idea that if your box is a bigger box, then people are going to see it and actually want to buy it. But that hasn't stopped Exploding Kittens from selling tons and tons and tons of games. That hasn't stopped Cards Against Humanity from selling tons and tons of games. If you make a good game, it will sell. Some of them have to catch on, but they will sell otherwise. And most people are perfectly willing to spend money on a game that's smaller because it's not going to afford, or not going to cost them buying an additional room to house it. So the large boxes are great. They look great. They have a ton of room for good artwork. But if all you're selling is a big empty box, like Splendor and Citadels are some of the worst for this. It's just empty boxes with a few components so that their box was big enough to show up on the shelf. And I do not appreciate that at all. Next up, we have the slightly smaller square. Like, this is a medium-sized square. Let me get it in a good frame. I'm using Element because this was easier to grab. These are like the 10 by 10s-ish range, 9 to 10 10s range. These are absolutely fabulous boxes, but they're still not the best. These house a lot of really good games as well. Again, same problem with that big box. They're going for, these two are more uniform in their size than some, like the tiny boxes. They go everywhere, but these are more uniform in their size. But they still create a lot of dead space that house the game. So I really appreciate this box size because it's getting closer. But the one that I find has packed the most game into the most box, or into the best size box and the most uniform box, is actually this guy. This little box. It is a 8x8, I do believe. I measured it. Now I can't remember off the top of my head. This little box I have probably the most of, and houses some of the best games. Now, this is Small Star Empires, the Small Empire series. They have 3 of them out now, and they are absolutely fantastic. And what got me really thinking is this one. This is King of Tokyo Origins. Now, a couple of things I don't like about this one. The insert in it, while good, they chickened out, and you only get 6 dices instead of the standard 8, which there was enough room for all 8 dice to fit in there. There's only 4 monsters. There's enough room for 6 in here. And they took it down to a 4-player game, so your King of Tokyo board only has 1 space on it. But what they proved is that this game, and they lowered the price, but I think I have a kitten climbing my curtain behind me here. This game box is ideal to show great artwork on your cover while being small enough to give people the space that they want for the game, or to put the game in and create a ton of content inside this game. So like Small Star Empires, all the small Empire series from Arcana fit into the main game box. That main game box, like all of it fits into here. I'm missing 1 expansion, and I know I have enough room to get in here. The only reason there's lid lift on Railroad is because there's actually game boards in that one. Otherwise, it would all fit in there quite nicely. So, that being said, like I already said to begin with, my personal opinion is the best box for a game is the box that fits all the pieces with the least amount of dead space in the box without it being Tetris personified to get it back in the box. Because I don't want to have to look and make sure everything is in there just perfect or it doesn't go in. I want it very simple, very easy. Just slide it all back in, close the lid, and go. But I also don't want a box that is 10 times the size of the game and I just paid for it's like buying a bag of chips. I don't want to open the bag to find out I bought a bag full of air. I don't want a empty box sitting on my shelf doing nothing. It bothers me. And again, so the best size is the one that fits the game with the least amount of dead space, that fits it well. And I personally think that is these little boxes. So, now, if you feel like it, you can yell at me all you want in the comments. I'm okay with it. And again, I need a good laugh. So, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.
If you like what you just saw, please support us by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel for more great gaming content.